Hey everybody, Ken with Integrity Medical Courier Training.
We are providing on-site training in Roseville, Minnesota.
A man's digits turn blue due to too much cannabis use. A woman in Melbourne, Australia dies after being scratched by Minty, her cat. Stole the hearse and dumped the body on the side of the road, still strapped to the gurney, and then continued on with their joyride. A dog had to be put down after it was crushed by a package thrown over a garden fence, its owners claim. So, stay compliant, my friends. Get all your medical courier training needs from us at www.integritydelivers.com.
The Medical Courier Connection podcast would like to welcome back Key Software Solutions as a sponsor of the MCC. Key Software has been supporting the Medical Courier Connection for many years, including the 2013, 14, and 2015 Medical Transportation Summit. Key Software Systems offers cutting-edge dispatch software for couriers looking to optimize routes, delivery, and operations.
Awesome. Awesome. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
2025, man. It's going to be a great year. A lot of exciting things going on. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good.
Doing real good.
Coffee.
Coffee is good. Yeah, I've already had that. So let's talk a little bit about the year in review, and we won't spend a lot of time there, but I think it's definitely relevant. We did a lot of things this year. We were going to take a look at a video, right? We were going to open up by showing a video, which is something different, but we're using a new platform, StreamYard, and it allows us to do some different things. So let's run that video, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit, or we can talk over it. Never mind.
Okay, let me make sure it's playing. Okay. We'll keep the music out.
Okay, so we started out going to the ECA in Orlando. It was our first time at the ECA Marketplace, hopefully not our last. What a great event that was. Really, really excellent. We also went to Roseville, Minnesota, provided on-site training there. That's what you're seeing right here in a big warehouse and in the small room. But then we went also to Columbus. Actually, we're still doing on-site in Minneapolis there. But
No,
we went. Is that Columbus? Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the
All right.
That's the guy we rode with. And then he showed you his spill kit. That's
Spill
right
kit.
there.
Yeah. A spill kit in his car. All right, I stand
Yep.
corrected. That is Columbus. So we went to Columbus. We've been going to their site actually for like 9 years now. Then we went to Chicago, the ADLM, Association for Diagnostics and Lab Medicine. We were guests of Cool Smart Logistics and CXT software. CXT. And so, yeah, really awesome time there. Massive, the biggest clinical lab convention there is. And we were privileged to be there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We also had the opportunity to speak in person. We went to New York City. Can't forget that. Sorry. Thank you, Larry. Actually, we're hoping to have Larry Zogby on a future podcast very, very soon. But we went on site for the first time in New York. Will not be our last. Provided on-site training for his drivers and got to see the big city, which was amazing. I had never been, so it was a first for me. Pretty breathtaking, man. I can't even believe it. And so definitely want to get back to New York soon. Then, like I said, speaking engagements in Sacramento and in Cincinnati for Accurate Courier. And was a great opportunity. And so a lot of travel this year, which was amazing.
Oh,
but also so much travel, right? Can't complain.
I mean, yeah. I've definitely gotten used to flying this year. It was a lot. So many different time zones.
Yeah. I mean, travel's great, man. The older you get, the rougher it gets on you. But I love travel as well. I mean, especially airplane travel where you can literally, after a couple hours of flying, be in the other part of the country. And so it's a great way for Integrity to get our message out and to provide training on site. And we do a lot of that. And that is one of those things that sets us apart from some of these other companies that have popped up. So 2024 was a great year. We got many new clients, so our company's growing that way. We have thousands of couriers that are going through our automated courses every single day, which is great. That's continuing. We even added some content, so we updated our courses a little bit. We've added courses in 2024. So that's been great. We have had a couple of these social media influencers that are doing their how to get rich as a medical courier programs, who are now offering training, but the feedback on the training is it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And go figure, because they don't have the background that Integrity has, having been clinical lab employees and having done tens of thousands of these deliveries literally around the globe, trained companies around the globe. So there are some things that sets Integrity apart, and we're just happy to have the following that we do, the increased following on Facebook and on YouTube. Chris, we just reached 1,000.
Yep, 1,100 now. We're, I think, 1,106.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. What a great milestone. That makes us partners. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll continue to grow in that role.
Yep. Yeah, once we have partner, it unlocks a lot of things. Actually, we do have memberships now, so we could start making exclusive content that only our members can see. And then with partner, it's just about ad revenue. So
great. So yeah, we're going to be leveraging that in 2025. We are up against 10,000 followers. We're just a few hundred shy of 10,000 followers on TikTok. And the incoming administration filed an amicus brief with the Supreme Court to stop the banning of TikTok. And so I hope that's successful, because, millions of people have their businesses on TikTok exclusively. And so we don't want to have, millions of people's lives ruined, so they got to figure that out.
Yeah. It would definitely have a dent on the economy. There are so many small businesses running on TikTok. So
Right. And then on Facebook, our Facebook medical couriers page is at 188,000 plus and growing. So we've been doing more simulcast live streams on Facebook and on TikTok. So that's pretty exciting. Those are just some things that have happened in 2024, and we just closed the chapter of 2024. It was a great year for us, and so we are happy and excited about the future. So yeah, new fresh look for the medical couriers page. Love it. Great work, Chris.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks really good. And so, yeah, when you see that logo, a lot of that was originally put on our webpage, but customized by Chris on our Facebook page, and it looks great. It helps bring that connection from Integrity Medical Courier Training to the Medical Couriers Group. So you kind of know, hey, this looks familiar. Go to our website. Hey, this looks familiar. Very nice. Great way to connect it together. So
well, for anybody wondering about, we've had a lot of questions about the Facebook group, and I don't think people fully understand what it's like to try and moderate 180,000 people. There's a lot of people that try and sneak through, and we got to protect all those members from scammers, because the sad reality is, as a CSR, I'm getting phone calls all day long of people saying that they got scammed. They thought they were speaking to one of our affiliates on different social media outlets, and it ended up being a scam. We've heard sad stories of people who, gave money to those people, $500+ thinking that it was a mentor, and it wasn't. So, we're doing a lot of work to try and stay vigilant in that group. And sometimes, people get angry. Sometimes posts get taken down. That is automatic. I think we should be clear about that. Some of that is not, that's not us kicking you out of the group. That is, what is it? Facebook's automatic moderator.
Yeah, Facebook algorithms. So when we built that group, when we first opened the group, now it's been a year, last December when we opened it with no followers, but we saw immediately as it began to grow, lots of scammers trying to sell their grants, and scammers trying to pretend that they were Tony or Renee or somebody else. And you know, we had to we looked at keywords that they were using. You know, DM me and I'll tell you more about my program. Instant message me and I'll tell you more about the program. We have grant funds. Anybody here that started up your business that hasn't yet been funded? And these things would happen several times a day. And so we took on Amy, Tennessee is one of our administrators. Chris is one of our administrators. We brought in Faith as an admin recently. Linda's now on there as an admin, and then myself as well. So, but imagine if you would, you know, 188,000, that's like 3 football stadiums filled with people, and you've got like 1 security person for each stadium. So the algorithms kind of do the heavy lifting for us that way.
Yeah. I just got this notification when I got onto Facebook. It removed somebody's
Look at that.
for
Look at
grant
that.
funding.
Yep.
$50,000 is approved.
So the thing about that, Chris, is that when if it does make it through, you know what really makes me sad is you'll have 15 to 20 people raising their hands going, me, I want to get funded. I want to get funded. And what happens is, you know, they'll charge a fee to get the process started. They'll take all their private information, and then they sell that information to other scammers and spammers. And these people are out the money, and then they've been scammed, and it's bad news.
Yeah.
And so, but
we're trying to set people up for success, not to get scammed. So if you get pulled out of the group and you think it was an error, you know, you can always reach out to us. And if it was an error and we can verify that you're not a scammer, then, you know, we will fix that. But we're doing our best to try and set people up for success. You know, we want it all comes back to patient care. Everything that we do at Integrity is always patient care. And even the Facebook group, you know, is making sure that we're setting up medical couriers the right way, making sure that you have the tools and the resources and you're getting connected with the proper mentors. Going back to that, the affiliates, you know, they have actual websites. So if you're, you know, hesitant and you think you may be talking to a scammer on social media, you know, one thing you can verify is most of them have a ton of followers on their main account. So people will set up little side accounts that have, you know, 2,000 followers or something. That's not the real person.
Yeah, not.
And do some Google research. Look for their actual website. I know specifically with Stick With Us deliveries, you can go to their website, stickwithus.co, and you can book a consultation on the website. I always tell people that's the safest way to get in touch with Tony. Because that is for sure his website.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not gonna get in touch with someone that's not him. So and same thing for us. We've had people try to impersonate us. We've had people try and, you know, steal material and stuff. So it's almost a full-time job just dealing with hackers and scam artists. And so we're doing our best to try and mitigate that.
Yeah, there's like how many fake Tonys are there on TikTok, Chris, that you're aware of? Like
it's
20,
now,
40?
Yeah. I get followed by a new one every day.
I had a woman yesterday. I was on the phone with her, talking to her, and while we were on the phone, she had me on speaker. She said she was getting a DM from a fake account right then and there while we were talking. So it's definitely still happening, unfortunately. And just be careful, be vigilant, and be careful who you're giving your information to. You know, do a little bit of vetting first and research to make sure. And if you have a question about it too, you can call us, and we'll do our best to point you in the right direction, make sure that you're talking to the real person. So,
and that goes with training as well. You know, people will come into our Facebook group and they'll say, I've got my bloodborne pathogen from American Red Cross. As a matter of fact, somebody DM'd me this morning and said, I want to take your HIPAA course. And I said, well, how can I help you? And she said, well, I already have my bloodborne. And I said, where'd you get it from? And she said, American Red Cross. Well, that's not Courier specific. So you really should take our bundle, our specimen handling and transport bundle. A lot of people think that they've got the proper certification, but when you dig a little deeper, they got a free HIPAA training program and it has nothing to do with medical couriers. Or they got a free bloodborne pathogen, or we had a guy, we were doing a live the other day, Chris, I think you were in there when Tony came on our live, but a little bit earlier before Tony came on, somebody said, I purchased another course from the gentleman that stumbled into medical courier work 2 years ago. And I said, tell me about his course. Was it anything like what I just described? Because I laid out our course, everything that sets us apart. We go over the OSHA regulations in detail. We go over medical definitions. We go over hepatitis awareness. We go over HIPAA, courier specific HIPAA training, and our medical courier training is on the specimen handling and transport in the clinic, in the car, at the laboratory. What about specimen integrity? What about exposure control? What about how to use a spill kit? And he said, no, none of that was in the course. It was just certification, and it was boring, and it was junk. And so unfortunately that guy purchased a course thinking he was getting the certification,
Yeah.
and what he got was a white papered program from somebody whose aunt literally drafted up a program because she was a nurse. Nurses, arguably are highly trained. They got to be trained and certified, but nurses are not medical couriers.
Right.
That Justin, we both worked for one of the nation's largest clinical labs, and their training was not courier specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And so we both been through that.
and we know that that person's training or their certification allegedly doesn't expire, which is
Yeah.
OSHA regulated.
Right.
Right. So it's important. And now there's people on other platforms, other social media influencers who are never out doing the work, and they're just singing songs and pretending to look, how much money someone's making in Chicago or Minneapolis or Milwaukee, and then they're exciting you, getting you hyped up, and then there's a sale. Quick, the next 15, followers can save 10% off of our course. Get in, get in, get in. It's all, if you've ever been to New York and seen like Penn and Teller, they'll show you how things are done. This is a psychological mind game. You have to be careful because you're being manipulated into purchasing something that's not going to do you any good. You got to be careful that you're being led into purchasing something that will not benefit you.
Right.
Yeah, if their
Well,
course is 90% off while they're live, then it's probably a scam.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to highlighting, what the actual regulations say. You need
Right.
function specific training, which is something I tell a lot of people because, yeah, exactly. A lot of people, like you said, they find these general awareness HIPAA or bloodborne programs, and that's great, but it doesn't teach you anything about the job that you're trying to do. You're trying to be a medical courier, or you're trying to run a medical courier business. You need training that is geared towards being a medical courier so that you know how to deal with these problems when they pop up on the job while you're doing the work as a medical courier. So, and to highlight earlier what Chris said, it needs to be annual training. That's also in there as well. A lot of people forget, and we're going through our list, trying to shore up people who've maybe forgot about their training or just haven't had the time or whatever's happening. We've seen a ton of people not coming back the following year and recertifying. And that's big because your certification does expire, and that's
Right.
not us doing that. That is the actual regulation says that it needs to be annual training and it needs to be function specific. So,
Yep.
and these are all things you can find online, and you should, if you want to be successful in this industry, you should know the regulations and how they apply to you as a medical courier or as a courier company owner. So
Right.
Yeah.
So we were in Chicago, and we got a phone call from a client in Texas in a panic because one of their drivers had misdelivered a package not once but twice in the same day, and it had patient information and medications in it. And when they went to check on that driver's certification, not only had that driver expired, but their whole fleet of drivers were out of compliance. And furthermore, there were no independent contractor agreements in place with the contractors. But it's important. We provide the courier companies with the manual. We walk you through the OSHA regulations, and we help you to defend your company if there's ever an audit. Now let's say you take a
does
course.
happen.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
say you take a course from one of these social media influencers, and then one of your drivers suffers a needle stick or has a HIPAA violation. The response is going to be something along the lines of, "Oh, we're sorry, all sales are final, no refunds. We can't help you." We
Yeah.
can help you. We can, if you stay, current with us, as Justin says, we're going to equip you to defend your company if you're ever audited or if a driver has an incident. So
Yeah.
it's important to stay current.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, moving ahead to 2025, a lot of exciting things are happening. We have an administration coming in that is arguably, presenting themselves as pro-business, and so that's going to be exciting. What happens when you have a pro-business administration in is they lower regulations and making it easier for people to start businesses, and then more people are going to have jobs, more people are going to be building widgets and packages, and the logistics industry benefits when the economy expands and is growing. There's more need for couriers of all stripes, medical and or package delivery and title commitments and all of it. So I'm looking forward to the next few years of our economy growing and more people having things to deliver. And so it can only bode well for the logistics industry. I just pulled up a figure about 2024. The healthcare logistics market in the U.S. was estimated to be somewhere around 94 billion this past year. $94 billion spent on medical logistics, and it's obviously going to grow as baby boomers like myself get older and need health care. Someone's going to deliver my medications, things like that. And so
Yeah. And that goes back to a point I'd like to touch on from a sales side. I get a lot of phone calls of people asking, how much money can I make doing this? And, our policy here at Integrity is we're not going to blow smoke. We're not going to tell you, yeah, you're going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams, because there's a lot of factors that go into it. So number one, what is the available work in your city? Yes, there may be a bunch of clinics, but they might have a courier service that they're perfectly happy with, and they have no desire to switch. You could get in and put a bid in, and bid under that company, which we experienced, year after year when we were independent contractors, or when I was an independent contractor. And we would have companies who would underbid us, and we would lose contracts, and it was heartbreaking. And so that's something, with Linda's starting your own courier business. When you go to our website, you click on Get Trained, online courses, and then scroll down and you click on starting your own courier business. She goes over ways to calculate what your expenses are going to be, and keep your prices competitive. So I think that's a big factor. But as far as, mentioning how much you can make, we're never going to tell you an exact number because we don't know. It depends on how good of a salesperson you are, or whether you hire an expert salesperson. It goes off the opportunities in your city. I think we've touched on this before. It's going to be wildly different from a big city as opposed to a rural area. But if you're willing to go into that city and do work, then you may have more opportunities. But at the end of the day, it's all about your drive as a salesperson and, where you take your company. You're the captain. So, we'll never throw a number at you and give you false hope, because, we don't want to do that. It's your journey. And you can do some Google researching and get a general idea, but with all the external factors, there's really no way to give you some accurate, set and digit that figure that you're going to make. So
there's risks in every industry. So somebody leaving the clinic after lowballing. After lowballing the competition. Yep. So that's funny. Good. All right. So I was on a live stream earlier. We were doing a live stream simulcast between TikTok and Facebook, and somebody came on and said, well, what makes Integrity different from anybody else? And one of the things that I mentioned was the fact that you're never going to hear us come on a live or do a recorded program or anything and say, we're going to promise you're going to make $2,500 a week if you're in this city or that city, or you'll make $5,000 a week if you're in this city or that city. That's just a game we've never played.
Right.
Our focus is training and certification. We do some sales tips, helping them identify medical clients in their area that they should call on. But again, like you said, there's so many different factors that can that weigh in here as to how much money you're going to make as a medical courier. I rode with a courier in Minneapolis a couple of years ago that was making 75,000 a year. She only did 5 stops a day, but she was putting on almost 400 miles a day on her car, meaning that she went through 2 cars a year. So
Yep.
while $74,000 a year seems like a lot of money, you got to factor in how many sets of tires she goes through, how
Yeah.
many oil changes she goes through, and all of that, the maintenance that's factored in. That's one of the things that we're going to be covering more and more in our Next Steps live class is budgeting and factoring in how you can make sure that you're successful financially as a courier.
And that's not, none of this is to take away from any of our affiliates, because those guys do amazing work and they are getting people contracts and things like that. If you're willing to pay a mentor, that's a great investment in your company. And we refer people all the time to the Courier Business Academy, Stick With Us Deliveries, the Courier Chick,
Right.
all of our affiliates. And the numbers that they may have accurate numbers for your area. We don't.
Yeah.
We're a certification company, so we try not to comment on it. But I just wanted to clarify that we're not saying that they don't know, because they might have a much better idea than we do. We're, at the end of the day, we're a certification company. We're here to get you compliant and make sure you stay that way and minimize your risk. They are mentors, and they dedicate all of their time and resources to your success. So, I always strongly recommend all of our affiliates, because they are doing amazing things for people all across the country. And I think they can give a pretty accurate representation. I think more what we were trying to say is with how much the industry is booming for medical courier work, just be careful. Do your research into these people that you're seeing online, because there's a lot of them, even beyond what our affiliates are. There are a lot of people out there trying to jump on the bandwagon. And, I would hate for people to go in and with a bunch of big expectations and get with the wrong person, and then it doesn't happen. And, we're about success. We're about compliance. We're about patient care, and we'll always refer you, once you're properly trained, because we're not going to send someone who doesn't take their certification seriously. We're not going to send you to one of our affiliates, because our affiliates mean business, and they know the things that you need, and one of those is training. So, that's our passion here is making sure that you understand the risks and, how to protect the patient's PHI, how to protect specimen integrity is a huge one. That's, kind of a play off of our name as well. Not only, we try to run our company with integrity in mind, but also specimen integrity is a big one. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the to wrap all that stream up is just, if you go on YouTube, which is where you're watching this podcast, you're going to see a million thumbnails of people promising how much money you can make in certain areas. Just be careful what you're buying into, because those promises may raise expectations beyond what's viable in your area. And so just be discerning. That's all.
Right.
Yep. So we got a new economy hopefully coming in, a new administration, a lot of regulations are going to be changed. We are taking steps to grow the Medical Courier Connection. Medical Courier Connection, it does sponsor this podcast or host this podcast. And so the Medical Courier Connection is a community of like-minded medical couriers, but we also help connect you to courier companies around the country. In the first quarter of 2025, we're going to be working at growing the Medical Courier Connection out and having more courier companies and more vendors. We're talking with more vendors that have courier company related or medical courier related products to be sponsors of the Medical Courier Connection. And hopefully that'll allow us to do more things and get out and travel more and go to more conventions. We are talking with someone who actually spoke at one of our summits about the possibility of adding her Category A training program to our recorded library, which will be great because, as pandemics come and go, you want to have full training on handling and transportation of those items. In some cases, you're needing placarding and special training on Cat A. And so we're hoping to add that to our library.
Yep.
We'll
That'll be
continue
awesome.
to do more virtual job fairs. That's definitely coming up. We got one scheduled for later on in January. So that's exciting as well. That's a great opportunity to help introduce, couriers all over the country with courier companies looking for qualified drivers. A success story on that. Steve Hacker from Cool Smart Logistics in the Cincinnati area, where we were just there, Chris, a while ago. He said that after our virtual summit that we did with him, he got several people that responded looking for work, but 3 people that signed up, and they're with them to this day. So 3 drivers is a great number,
Yeah,
great success for them. So we're going to be doing more of that and probably more with them as well.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. I do have a bit of the next steps class clipped. We've
Yeah,
been talking about doing more administrative stuff on each podcast, so I figure we could take a few minutes and watch this. Let me pull it up.
do it.
Okay.
Would be an issue, maybe some theft, things like that. They're looking for the risk. So they're assessing their own risk. And the clients were more specific based on the job itself. So, for instance, if you're servicing a pharmaceutical company, they're looking for any drug charges that may affect their, what they wouldn't allow you to even come into the pharmacy, theft charges, things like that. So it's not it's, and then of course, the worst of the worst would be a no-brainer. But DUI would, that would come into play as far as whether you're insurable and you can actually be driving, but they actually are going deeper just for the reasons of the risk. So, and those are typically driven. The company is bound by what the client wants and what their work comp and their insurance company are asking for.
That's actually a great topic because we get that question all the time of people asking, can I do this if I've had a felony
right.
before?
That's right.
Right.
Certain charges. I didn't even think of DUI or drug charges when you're trying to deliver pharmaceuticals.
Yep. So years ago, Integrity Medical Couriers here in Colorado Springs, we had a gentleman referred to us, and we hired him. He was a felon, an ex-felon, I guess, but he was part of a vehicle theft ring, and we hired him as a courier, and he was one of the best couriers we had. He was one of the best couriers we had, most reliable, never backed out of a shift. He was always there. He was a great employee, but there were certain things that certain routes we could not put him on
Yeah.
because of background checks and the client had expectations. And so, yeah, those are things that we cover in the next step class. It was designed to be about a 45-minute to a 1-hour class, but we haven't hosted one now that's gone short of 2 hours. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're between 2 and 3 hours long because of all the Q&A, but it is a step by step. Let's do a deep dive into what it really means to start up a courier business. So be watching for more of those classes as well. And we'll be advertising those on YouTube, TikTok, in the Medical Couriers group as well. So a lot of exciting things going on in 2025. And let's hope for a great year. I mean, I'm really excited about the possibilities.
Definitely. Do you guys want to talk about? I have that screenshot that we shared earlier to each other.
Yeah.
Let me pull that up now.
Yep.
Okay, so this is an example. Last night I took my 7-month-old to Children's because I was concerned about his breathing and he was showing signs of RSV. Before we left, RSV, it's like an extreme, it's a lung infection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it stands for. I'd have to Google it, but it's a lung infection. Before we left, they took a swab and said the results would be in the portal by the next morning. Next morning comes and there's no results. She called the Children's Hospital. They say at the lab that the lab has not released the results yet. Call back if they're not there by 3 p.m. Still not there. She calls back, and they told her that they lost his swab, and it's not in the lab. Now that was supposedly, I mean, it's not clear where they lost it, but more than likely it was lost in the facility. That does happen from time to time. But with the couriers, I mean, that type of a situation can and does kill patients. We share stories in our training program of situations where drivers lost a specimen and the patient died.
Yep.
So that didn't happen here, but it could have.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well, and
Could have.
as someone who, was a medical courier for 15 years, I lost my fair share of samples. I'm not afraid to admit that. I wish I hadn't, but it can get, when you're doing these deliveries and these big routes every day, you can get to a point over the years where you're so used to just grabbing a bag with a requisition and specimen in it, and you're focused on time and getting the route done, and maybe stats get thrown in there in the middle and you have to break route, that it can become, it doesn't really stick in your mind so much that each specimen is a patient. The organization, or the corporation that I worked for 5 years as a medical courier, always drove home that we needed to. They had a little sticker we'd put on our dashboard. Every specimen is a someone's family member or something along those lines. And I think that's really important. This wasn't. We don't know if that screenshot we just looked at was a medical courier's mistake, or if it stayed in the lab the whole time. Either way, somewhere along the lines it got lost, and it does happen with medical couriers. And so we just want to make sure that we're being vigilant as medical couriers about keeping track of every specimen, knowing where it is, using our coolers when we're walking in and out of the clinics, because it can have life-threatening results for patients if a specimen's lost and results are delayed and things like that. So I thought that was a good example to throw up momentarily, just to keep it fresh in people's minds. When we talk about those things, especially when people call in and I'm telling them, yes, patients have died due to driver negligence. That's not scare tactics. That's not fear mongering. It's actually really happened. And it's something that we're passionate about making sure it does not happen. And so, it's always good to throw up an example of that. Really sad for that lady and her child. Hopefully the child's okay, but it does happen, and we gotta be vigilant. So
one of the facts that we put in our training program, and we remind them of it as part of what we do, is that preventable medical errors are still the number 3 killer in the medical industry. Preventable medical errors are the number 3 killer in the United States. That figure changed a little bit during COVID, but currently, it's still the number 3 killer. So, medical couriers, we are working hand in hand with the medical industry. Medical couriers can and do have a direct impact on patient care. That's why it's important from whom you get your training, the quality of your training, the fact that you stay current in your certification every year, and couriers, getting that training every year. I mean, couriers we get complacent, we get busy, we get distracted, and as time goes by, we think, you know what, I've done this a million times, I know what I'm doing, I got this. And those are the times when it's the most dangerous, because maybe you get complacent, you get careless, and then a mistake happens. And yes, I've actually misplaced specimens in my career as well, and I had to own up to it. That's why we called ourselves integrity. And you have to own up to it, because ultimately it comes down to how it affects the patient. It's not about me and my job and whether or not I can retain a client, or whether or not I can retain my pride or my reputation. It's all about how it affects the patient. And that's what drives everything that we do here at Integrity Medical Courier Training and the Medical Courier Connection. We are doing all we can to help and equip and train people to have a positive impact on patient care.
Yep.
That's it.
And I think, going with you out to some of these on-site trainings in the past, you do the large group train in the conference room. I think drivers come out of there with a new confidence and, kind of fired up about doing their job. It might sound kind of corny, but I know I did. I always came out of training with a new confidence and a fresh outlook on, what my job really means. And, that it is in the grand scheme of careers and jobs, it's a very important job. And it can have life or death consequences for people. Not to mention the fines, if there's a breach of information, things like that. But we, as a medical courier, people's lives are literally in your hands and in your coolers. So, I think that it's super important for people to stay current on training so that they have that positive outlook and they're fired up about doing the best job possible and thinking of each specimen as someone's family member, someone's, mother, daughter, brother, father, etc. So
there it is.
Yep.
It is someone's mother, father, sister, brother, husband, or wife. And so behind every specimen, there's a patient. It's what we do. It drives everything that we do here because we've all had our own medical health situations and we've all, known family members that have had health problems, and health scares. We've all been there. And so
I'm really worried about that specimen that you're holding on to there. That person's results are probably really delayed, huh?
Probably 3 years.
Yeah. I just found this in my cooler.
Oh no!
I forgot to deliver it, and so
That's...
it's probably been there for over the holidays. So
No.
I've got like 30 of them. Is this a problem?
It's a prop, folks. It's a prop.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So
real.
Listen. Bottom line is, 2025 is going to be a great year. Let's go ahead and get ready to wrap up. But 2025 is going to be a great year. We've got a lot of things coming our way, and follow us on all our major streams here on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at the Medical Couriers page. Follow us on TikTok at Medical Courier Training, as well as Instagram. It's going to be a great year, and be careful. Integrity Medical Courier Training, we are uniquely qualified to provide the training and certification that you need.
Yep. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.
And special thanks again to Key Software for coming back as a sponsor. We appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll have more sponsors as we move deeper into 2025.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll see y'all next time.
Right.
Hey everybody, Ken with Integrity Medical Courier Training.
I'm a medical courier. Of course I keep patient information private. Dude, you are never gonna believe whose specimen I just picked up.
Oh, here it is. Dude, I don't know what any of this is. I wasn't paying attention in the integrity training class.
Yeah, that sounds a bit expensive. I think I'll just train them myself. After all, this isn't rocket science.